Welcome, everyone, to Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. We are here today to explore the theme of higher self. So, welcome wherever you are in the world, or if you're watching the recording, we're glad you're with us. And I will hand it over to our host for today, Yosi Amram.
Thank you, Pauline. Just trying to allow the recording here. It's good to see you, some familiar faces. Thank you for coming back, some new faces. If I'm not recognizing you, I'm glad to be here with you. So welcome, whoever and wherever you are. And thank you in joining me in our collective efforts to awaken greater spiritual intelligence within ourselves and on our planet. May we all become Wi-Fi extenders of this great mesh network, or otherwise known as the web of life. So we all transmit life and light frequencies that inspire and support each of us and each cell in this cosmic organism of life to live in health and wholeness and contributing to the health of the whole. And if this cosmic organism idea sounds grandiose, which it is, I will settle just for our Gaia, Mother Earth. And if that's too much, I'll be happy with just the community of our humanity. So, as Pauline said, today's meeting topic is helping each of us access our higher self. And though it's important to develop a healthy and a kind, loving connection and relationship with all parts of ourself, even those we consider negative, it is all the more important to do so with our higher self. For when we develop a kind and receptive relationship with the difficult, sometimes unskillful parts, that is the subject of another dimension of spiritual intelligence relating to our inner wholeness. And we might have a meeting about that some other time. But for today, as I said, I'm going to focus on the higher self. And in fact, when we develop that higher self, that can help us in developing those other SI qualities as well, like inner wholeness. And from the point of view of our higher self, we can accept and embrace those parts of us we don't like, which are really needing our compassion and our acceptance to help them relax and heal. Because whatever we're doing that's unskillful and we consider negative is really coming from a hurt, wounded place. And our higher self can help us find that compassion towards all those parts. Anyway, but before we get much further on that, let's see who's here. So please type in a few words in the chat about where you are and plugged into this matrix 4 from and what's happening in your node, in your individual self. Just to include a couple of adjectives that describe your state. You can also include your intention in being here. So we got Mill Valley, Pauline. I should type my own. Santa Rosa, California. Jonathan, welcome. I am in the Santa Cruz area in California, and I am feeling excited and anticipatory. Got Steve. Hello, Steve. San Francisco. Opening to awareness. Yes. And we have Nancy here from Portland, Oregon. Welcome. Anybody else willing to add your voice? Let us know who and what you are. John, intention to get to know you and your approach. Okay, well, I'm honored. Thank you for wanting to get to know me and my approach. I'm delighted and honored. I hope you won't be disappointed. Anybody else? How do you define higher self? Well, we're going to get into that. And someone here feeling grounded and enlivened, intention to open to deeper love and clarity. I love that. That's clear. That was clear. I love it. So here we are. Um, okay. So as we could see, we have different souls, different energies, different aspirations. And at least we know where you are physically now that you located yourself, your presence in this mandala, this network of human souls. Let's see if we can help locate and call your higher self. So what is your higher self, and where can it be found, and how high must one climb in order to find it? So let me assure you that it is already here, at least in seed form, planted deep within the soil of your soul. All you need to do is shower it with and shine the light of your loving awareness on it to make it sprout, grow, and take root deeper and deeper into the ground of your being. From there, it can grow tall, bearing fruit and forming a canopy of equanimity and peace over your entire and whole being. And in this class, I hope to help you do that. So someone asked, so perhaps I need to define what I mean by higher self. But your higher self is your gateway and guide to accessing the greater wisdom that is normally available to our egoic identity and personality. Your higher self is your wiser self, which in its highest form is connected to your divinity, to the one, capital O, one, great self, capital S. To help illustrate how accessing it can be helpful, and I'll share a client case story, which is basically from my book on spiritually intelligent leadership. So Batya taps her foot nervously as she sits facing me in my office. Looking at the ground, she wastes no time explaining her dilemma. I'm the CEO of my own company. How could I be so intimidated by my chief marketing officer? Batya's consumer app company had begun to grow rapidly and just recently attracted a large round of financing. Until this point, the company could only afford to give her CMO, the chief marketing officer, a part-time contract position. And now that the funding is available, he's making the pitch to expand the hours and the current relatively high contract rate or to come on full-time with an expensive package. And Batya needs his services at this critical junction, but she's not impressed with how he's been performing. So this situation, confrontation, would have been challenging enough for anyone, but for Batya, who is just all of 30-something, it's an extra charge. She'd grown up with a very authoritarian father whose angry outbursts scared her. And the CMO also bore an uncanny resemblance to her father, which made her feel even more intimidated and weak. So I invited her to call someone strong and kind. It could be someone she knew personally, a historical figure, or a fictional character. And Batya's brows furrows as she tells me no one comes to mind. So I suggest one of my favorite options, that she connect to her future aspirational self. And this is what we'll do this technique in our exercise here. I explain to her how a sense of connection to our future self can help us connect to this being who traveled our path longer and ripened with wisdom and who knows us intimately, can be an immense resource for wisdom and guidance. So I start a meditation with her to get using the inspired protocol that I've led through in this meetings. And then I guide Batya into a visualization through a lush meadow and a mysterious forest path into a clearing where she meets this older, wiser version of herself. And she drops into this visualization deeply and meets a woman who's 15 years older than her, whom she recognizes as her own future self. And they sit across from each other on a log. And after a moment of eye contact, Bhatya asks this wise woman for advice on how to deal with the intimidating CMO. And she learns from her future self that the best thing to do is to tell him that so far he has not proven himself eligible for a full-time position. And if he wants to be considered, he needs to demonstrate more capacity and commitment. In the meanwhile, she needs to be working with a recruiter to search for the best person. So coming out of this guided meditation, Bhatya is sitting upright, smiling softly, and filling the room with a warm, calm presence. She describes how inspired and calm she felt around the peaceful, loving, wise, kind, grounded, and strong presence of her future self. Toward the end of our meeting, Bhatya and I practiced informing her current part-time CMO of her stance. And while she still felt some anxiety, she found the courage to confront the man she found so intimidating. And the conversation was challenging emotionally, but it ultimately helped Bhatya claim her power and authority as a leader. In the end, the CMO stepped up his game, but after a thorough search, Bhatya found a better person for the position. Bhatya's relationship with her future self didn't end with that. Having gained and painted this image in her psyche, Bhatya began calling on this future self periodically whenever she needed some sage advice. And as the seed for this vision was already planted in her soul, invoking its image and dialoguing with it was like watering the soil to grow and bear fruit. And after about 6 months, Bhatya told me, the more I call on this powerful, wise, successful future Bhatya, the more readily accessible she is, and the more I start to feel like her now. So this meditation that I did with Bhatya is really draws on a practice developed by renowned psychologist Jung, which called it active imagination. Through it, you can access what Jung described as the wise self archetype, or the wise old woman, or the wise old man. Archetypes are a recurrent character pattern or motif that is universally recognized by all people all over the world, regardless of their geography or culture, because it's part of humanity's collective unconscious and hence exists in the psyche of all humans. Another example for an archetype might be the innocent, playful child. There are many archetypes. Jung identified the archetype of the wise old woman or the wise old man who draws their wisdom from the higher self. Jung capitalized the S. And this wise old being shows up in many mythologies across the world. In the Greek mythology as Athena, in Hindu mythology as Krishna and Saraswati, and more recently in the character of Yoda in Star Wars. These energies of the wise person, like all archetypes, dwell in the unconscious until they surface spontaneously in dreams, or when we intentionally invite them into the light of consciousness, where we can engage their energy and draw on them directly. And with some training and cultivation of the wisdom of this higher self, we can all learn to tap into the force, as Yoda points out. So our higher self is none other than that aspect of our being that is intimately connected to our divinity, which permeates all existence. Connected to our higher self, we can naturally tap into the vast evolutionary power and intelligence that animates and sustains all life. But even when we have not reached that level of higher self, the great one self with capital L's, our individual higher self, it could still be a great asset and a doorway to tapping into a large reservoir of wisdom beyond what we might typically have already access to. And while we can access this inspiration and wisdom of our higher self through guided meditations, People often find it themselves by spending quiet time in nature, or it's more readily available when our habitual mind can rest, allowing us to openly receive inspiration from the beauty and mystery of life and the sheer creative intelligence that underlies all existence. And when we encounter this source, we can access wisdom far greater than our own. So as shown with Bhatya, the practical and readily available method for accessing the wisdom of our higher self is possible by connecting with our future self. And indeed, research has shown that simply entering a dialogue with the best imagined self we aspire to become increases our resourcefulness, competence, and confidence in the present, with a lasting effect that helps us realize that future self we envision. So hopefully you will have a chance to do exactly that in the exercise shortly. But before we go there, I would like to share with you some of what I've learned in my research on spiritual intelligence, where I interviewed 71 teachers across all the world's traditions that were nominated by their peers as those who embody and live the values of their spiritualities, where they walk their talk. So most of those people I spoke with spoke of tuning into and calling on the wisdom of this higher self. They spoke of accessing qualities of intuition and other trans-rational modes of knowing. These individuals access this wisdom either by quieting their mind or shifting their identity to a larger self through intentional practices. For some, this is achieved by entering an imaginary dialogue with someone they consider wise, like a spiritually mature figure, such as the Buddha, Jesus, or the Dalai Lama, or by asking a divine being they might call God for guidance, even though they can't define or describe what God is. Their comments included the following: I receive wisdom from my higher self by quieting my habitual thinking mind and by listening to the whisper of the small, still voice in my heart. In difficult moments, another one said, in difficult moments, to gain guidance, I used to imagine a conversation with one of my spiritual teachers, my guru. Over time, I have internalized their wisdom and absorbed their energetic transmission, so I can just tune into that channel, that frequency, which has become my inner guru. It is always alive, present, and available within me. Another said, my greatest wisdom comes from my higher self, which is my deepest self. It is that sacred spark of the divine that lives in and animates all of us. And it is the intelligence that is responsible for the evolution of our universe and of life. This intelligence is far greater than my own. When I listen and follow it, I am swimming down the flow of the river of life as I am aligned with divine will. Another said, when I can shift my identity from the small egoic self, the separate me, to the larger cosmic organism of which I am but a cell, that some refer to as the capital S self or God, I naturally take the widest holistic perspective. That is the wisest and best way to serve the greater whole and fulfill the mission and contribute the gifts of my unique individual self. Okay, hopefully this gives you a bit of an overview about your higher self, which you can access without needing to climb any tall mountains. You just have to dive deep into yourself, where you can find the kingdom of heaven already inside. So hopefully you'll get a taste of this in the exercise, which I will guide you in a few moments, helping you access this higher self. And like I did with Bhatya, one of my favorite ways of doing so is by envisioning and calling forth your future self now. this future and or higher self exists within all of us, at least in potential, as the seed that we just need to bring awareness to and cultivate and grow through our awareness. And as we shine the light of awareness on it and shower it with some love, it will sprout, grow, and take root and bear fruit. And it will then form a canopy of equanimity and peace and bring forth all the qualities we want to cultivate. So there's going to be a couple of segments to this exercise, which we will do in dyad. And if you are listening and watching this as a recording, you could do this as a journaling exercise, which I will explain shortly. So in a moment, we will divide you and you'll find yourself with a partner in a dyad. And I will invite you, or Pauline will invite you to spend 1 minute each to introduce yourself. Just say hi, who you are, etc. However, just to kind of get to know each other a little bit. Then I will guide you in a meditation to help relax and open your imagination. So that's just kind of to loosen things up from our habitual thinking mind, which often can limit us. Not that it's a bad thing, it's a tool, but when it becomes overly dominant, then we're underusing some of our other resources. So once we open our mind, relax our awareness, then you'll support each other in creating a vision of this higher and future self you aspire to become. You'll do this with the repeating question as an inquiry. And so you'll take turns. One of you will be person A, that will be the first one to ask. And the second person, B, will be the one answering. So you'll ask this repeating question. Tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self. So person B answers, and then person A will ask the question, write down that quality. You can write it on a notebook and or in the chat towards that person. So again, the question is, tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self. And then after they've answered that, you say thank you, and then you say, what's it like to name and imagine this? So again, B answers, and then so you say, A says thank you, and then loops back to asking the first question. Tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self. Compassion. Thank you. What's it like to name and imagine this? The answer, oh, my heart opens and warms, etc. So you do that several times, looping through that for about 3 minutes. And then person A, who's been asking the question and has been writing these qualities, sends them over the chat to the person so they have a record of what came up for them. And then you say, you invite them to spend a moment. So what's it like when you imagine yourself embodying, and then you list the qualities, whether it's compassion or wisdom or joy or gratitude or intuition, confidence, whatever those qualities that came up for them, and you say, what's it like to imagine yourself embodying that? So the person who's been answering closes your eyes, and then you visualize yourself, about 10 years from now, embodying those qualities that you aspire to and you've been cultivating. And you can imagine it kind of growing out of the womb in your lower belly or in your heart, and just this person kind of, your future self emerges. So you just kind of get a moment to marinate in that. And then you switch roles. So the person who was answering uh, will now be asking. So Pauline and I will demo this now, and in a moment we will also offer the option for doing this on your own as a journaling, if you're just doing it as a recording. So, Pauline, thanks for joining me here.
Thanks for having me join you. I'm going to put both of us on the screen here. Okay, I am ready to dive into the exercise. Would you like to be person A or person B, Yosi?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'll let you choose.
Well, just according to the instructions, we both first have a minute to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll pretend we just landed here and introduced ourselves. So to save time, we'll skip through that step, but you just take turns saying hello,
Yeah,
and then you can decide who wants to go first. So Yosi, would you like to be person A and ask me the questions?
sure.
Great. And if you're in the breakout rooms, you'll see you can go into the chat and scroll back to where I put the questions in the chat so you can reference them there. And most likely, Yosi will be broadcasting his voice through the breakout room. This is the most high-tech thing that Zoom has offered lately. So you'll be able to hear his voice, or maybe my voice, but most likely Yosi will be telling you, just reminding you of the question. And then later when we get to the meditation, that's how it's going to work too, with Yosi's voice coming through. So you'll actually be in your breakout for the actual meditation, which I guess that would be the next step. So
Yeah.
first we introduced ourselves, and then Yosi will guide the meditation with just his voice. So you'll be with your partner and you'll drop in.
After they've done the inquiry, I will be guiding the meditation.
No, the meditation's the first step.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
first step, we'll just go back to the slides briefly, just to remind everyone.
See, I need a reminder.
Good to have it written down. So first we introduce ourselves.
Yeah,
Then Yosi will come on and guide us through a 7-minute about meditation.
yeah,
And then we'll actually go into the inquiry once we've dropped in.
yeah. Dropped in and opened and loosened up. Okay. So, assuming we've done that and you've kind of merged heaven and earth and your heart is open, your imagination is loosened. So, tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self.
Clarity.
Thank you. And what's it like to name and imagine this?
Interjecting a comment here.
Yeah,
We're doing this exercise, which we actually are, you would be writing down my answers somewhere. You can write them down on paper. You can write them down on your chat because you're going to then send them to me after these 3 minutes are up, right?
thank you. You're a godsend, Pauline. You already have
Thank
so
you.
much clarity. You have more clarity than me. You want clarity, you got it.
Getting there. Higher
Got
selves
it.
in the room.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you. So tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self.
Clarity.
Thank you. What's it like to name and imagine this?
I notice a sense of energy in my chest. It's almost like I want to open my posture more and feel more present.
Thank you. Tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express your future self.
Courage.
Courage. Thank you. And what's it like to name and imagine this?
I feel some movement in my belly. It's almost like there's a shakiness where it feels like a stretch.
Thank you. Tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self.
Playful spontaneity.
Thank you. What's it like to name and imagine this?
I actually feel some warmth in my cheeks. I think I'm noticing a little sense of like vulnerability, just sharing that in front of people. there's a story that, oh, I'm not playful enough. Okay, what do I do?
Yeah, thank you. So we'll do one more. Tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self.
Compassion.
Thank you. And what's it like to name and imagine this?
It's softening. I feel more grounded, and there's almost even a sadness that I'm touching into.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so assume our 3 minutes have gone. So now I'm gonna ask Pauline to what's it like to imagine to visualize yourself
So we're
and
also pretending that you just sent me the list of questions. So we're in step 4 here.
yeah, yeah, I am sending it to you. I guess
Oh, great. I got it now.
I'm sending it to you. Yeah. So what's it like to imagine yourself uh, embodying clarity, courage, playful spontaneity, and compassion?
And then when we're guiding the breakout, Yosi will he'll come in and tell you it's time to end the questioning and send your partner the list. And he'll also share the question, what's it like when you imagine yourself embodying? And then Yosi, you're gonna read this invitation, right? That person
Yeah,
who answered. Do you want to read it right now?
sure, sure. So, as you hear these words, what's it like to imagine your future self embodying whatever the few qualities come? Then take a moment to close your eyes and simply visualize and imagine this future self taking shape and form in your embodied lived presence right now. Give them permission to occupy your body if you're willing. Imagine them arising out of your torso, lower belly, womb, or heart space.
So what it's like to imagine myself embodying those qualities.
Yeah.
It feels like there's an upright quality to how my energy is. It feels rooted and also this upward expansion, like a tree growing. And there's some brightness coming through. The leaves are sort of like shimmering and swaying in the breeze. There's that playful quality.
Uh-huh.
So it's a little dance, a tree dance. They're my leaves. You can't see my hands, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, any questions? Let's open it up
Let's
here.
just double check the steps, 'cause I think we might have missed the last step.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, that was 1 minute. So we
Switch roles.
it's like I shared what it was like to imagine embodying these qualities, and then we would switch roles. So we'd go back to step 3, where I would be the one asking Yosi, tell me one of your qualities you aspire. And then the same thing would happen just with the reversed roles. So I would be writing down Yosi's answers. And then once again, Yosi's voice will come on to say, okay, it's time to stop. So we will be guiding you through each step of the way. So hopefully the part when it's time to switch will become apparent as we go through it, because we'll come in and tell you when it's time. But besides that, yes, are there any questions? Okay, great. So I think now it's time to show the alternate option.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the recording, we're going to show you the instructions for doing this as a journaling. And even if you're here live, feel free to go back and watch the recording if you want to do this again in the future. So let me pull up the variation of the instructions here. So it's basically the same thing. And the meditation that Yosi guides us through will be on the recording. So you can listen to that. And then you don't need to set a timer. We just invite you to journal through these 2 prompts for up to 7 qualities. So one of the qualities I aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in my future self is, and then naming and imagining this quality I experience. So you're recording your in the moment experience of noticing this quality you want to embody and what it's like to actually write it down and bring it into the moment. And then when you've got your 7 or so qualities, then you can reflect on what it's like when you imagine yourself embodying the qualities you listed. Again, taking a moment to close your eyes and simply visualize and imagine this future self taking shape and form in your embodied, lived presence right now, giving them permission to occupy your body if you're willing, imagining them rising out of your torso, lower belly, womb, or heart space. So after doing that visualization, you can spend a few more minutes contemplating and writing down what it would be like to embody and express these qualities in your future self. So yes, you can pause this screen to record the prompts if you'd like, because then you'll continue on in this video with the next thing for you in the video will be the meditation. Okay.
Okay. I hope you're all settled in and connected with each other. And so I will be guiding this meditation. So find a comfortable seated position. Just to review, we'll be doing this meditation kind of open, and then you'll do this inquiry that we did, asking each other for the qualities, imagining them, switching roles. Then there'll be a 5-minute break. Then you'll come back to the larger group, and then there'll be a longer meditation and visualization, like what I did described with Bhatya, where you will encounter this future self. So this is a multi-stage exercise to plant the seed and then water it and grow it as much as we can today. So we'll find a comfortable seated position with the spine aligned and letting the body drop and sink, relax, feeling the weight of the body dropping into the earth, the gravitational pull, the loving embrace of Mother Earth, always pulling us down into her center, while at the same time supporting us through the surface of the earth, through the building, the house, the floor, our feet, legs, pelvis, to be in place, to be exactly as we are, supporting our body. Our body's all made of earth elements, water, over 70% water, like the earth, surface, carbon, oxygen, other elements, all of which are provided through the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. So let's take a couple of breaths, inhaling in that nourishment and support from the earth, from the soil below, through the feet, the legs, the pelvis, circulating through the torso, arms, body, letting it feed us, and then exhaling back down, sending back down the excess, the waste, the tension we don't need, letting it compost back in the soil. So taking a few breaths like that, drawing in from below, circulating through the body, exhaling back down. And as you do that, you can synchronize your breath with the pulsating breath of the earth, Mother Earth, entering a state of co-regulation with Mother Earth. And then letting the spine align and serve as an energetic connection channel between the earth through the feet, legs, pelvis, and then up the spine, torso, and the crown top of the head, pointing at the sky, at the space, at the cosmic realm above. And with the eyes closed, you can imagine the light that's above, the sunlight, if it's daytime where you are, or human light, or simply the sky, dark night sky that's always filled with starlight, even in the darkest of nights. And besides the visible light spectrum of starlight, sunlight, there is the invisible light of ultraviolet and infrared light and other light frequencies that are part of the cosmic microwave background radiation that fills the entire space of the universe, which is basically the echo of the Big Bang, the moment of creation of our universe, the birth of our universe. So we have visible and invisible primordial light above. In the space. And on the inhale, now we can draw in energy and light from above through the crown top of the head, coming in down the spine and circulating through the body. And then on the exhale, sending it back up to the cosmic realm. So we're drawing now energy and light from above into the body. Now, this body is made of earth elements, as I mentioned, which are nothing more than stardust. And stardust is basically formed through the energy and light from the Big Bang that cooled down enough to form particles, atoms, and molecules. So our body is really made of congealed light. So we're drawing energy and light from above into this body, which in its essence is made of energy and light, as we know through E equals mc squared. All mass is related to energy and light. So drawing in the light, the energy into the body, returning it back to the space above. Now, what is mysterious about the space above is even the so-called empty space, science tells us, physics tells us, is filled with what's called dark energy, which accounts for the majority of the mass and energy of our cosmos. It is basically the energy of empty space, which is uniform throughout all empty space. And what is mind-blowing about it is that since the universe is expanding at a very rapid rate, more and more space is being created, more and more empty space. And the density of dark energy is constant throughout all space as it is expanding, which means that new energy is being created out of nothing simply through the expansion of space. So we have this dark energy and light from above that we're drawing in and then returning back on the exhale. And now you can, on the inhale, draw energy from both directions, from above and below. bringing those two energies, energy and light from above and the solid support of the earth below, bringing them into the torso, the heart, letting them intermingle before exhaling back out. And on the exhale, you can visualize this energy being sent out in all four directions through your chest, front, back, left, and right. So take a couple of breaths like that, drawing in energy from above and below, heaven and earth, intermingling in the heart, the chest, and then expanding it out, sending it back out in all directions. And do that for a few breaths at your own pace. So just taking a moment to notice what's it like to be here, suspended between the skies above and the earth below, drawing energy and support and nourishment from both. Obviously, the earth and all its energy and life and food is supported by the energy that the sun provides through the light. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and just continue to be in this receptive mode of presence, receiving, allowing the image of your partner, as well as the sensations, temperature sensations, pressure sensations, colors, forms, images. And please pick who's going to be A and who's going to be B. A is the one that will be asking, and we will set a timer here for 3 minutes. So whoever's asking first will ask, tell me one of the qualities you aspire to cultivate, embody, and express in your future self. You can be thinking 10 years out as the person answering. You answer, you name one of the qualities, and then B says, thank you. And what's it like to name and imagine this as you write down that quality? The answer, thank you, and then you loop again. Okay, so we'll start with 3 minutes here.
And if you're watching the recording, now is when you can move into the journaling prompt. And once again, I'll put those on the screen so that you can see. And you can pause the video to complete the exercise.
Are we ready, Pauline? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for bearing with our higher self getting low and making lots of mistakes and but we trust that it all works and we're still here. So our next step is to actually another meditation that I'll guide you where you will encounter this future self of yours and enter a dialogue with them. So again, find a comfortable seated position. We'll begin with kind of a shortened, abbreviated version of the inspired protocol, given we're running a little late. And then you'll imagine yourself in a meadow and a forest, and then you'll encounter your future self and bring to them whatever questions or issues you might want to get their help on. Any issue in your life you're dealing with. So again, beginning with finding a comfortable seated position, feet flat on the ground, letting the body relax, drop in the chair. And we'll begin with inspired, beginning with the letter I, inward gazing. N, nostril breathing. S, spine supporting, spirit soaring. E, posture aligning. I, inhaling, exhaling. R, relaxing, receiving, resting, feet flat on the ground, connected to the center core of Mother Earth. E, expanding awareness. Perineum and pelvic floor. Hip joints and pubic bone. Lower belly. Diaphragm and solar plexus. Heart, chest, and lungs. Throat. Jaw. Tongue. Lips. Face and cheekbones. Nose. Eyes and eye sockets. The space between them at the brow. Temples. The space between them at the pineal gland. Crown, top of the head. A foot above the head. Back of the skull. Back base of the skull. At the occiput. Back of the neck. Upper shoulders. Shoulder blades. And the space between them at the back of the heart. a foot behind the heart. Arms, hands, legs, feet, entire skeletal and bone structure as it supports the whole body, including the tissues, muscles, organs, blood vessels, sensing the pulsating flow of the blood through the arteries, veins, and heart. Entire body and the space all around it. The space above the head, how high does it extend? And the space down below, how low does it go? And the space in front ahead, where does it end? And the space in back behind, does it have an end? And the space in the heart and center of chest, how deep does it descend? Sensing the totality and vastness of space as it envelops, surrounds, and permeates the body. D, dwelling in space, deepening into essence, dropping in to the silent stillness that is underneath, behind, and between all sounds. The stillness that contains all movement. Letting the awareness and the presence drop into the center of the chest and heart area. And in the mind's eye, letting the image of a meadow you've been in, or one you construct in your imagination appear. And just stroll around exploring the meadow. Notice the vegetation that's there, any flowers, plants, colors. Any water elements, a stream or a pond in the meadow. Any animals. Just walk around leisurely exploring the meadow. the sounds, the smells, the breeze, the sun. And as you're exploring the meadow, you come to the edge where there are some trees. And walking through the trees, you notice that the trees get thicker and thicker, finding yourself on a path through the forest. As the density of the trees gets higher and higher, there's less and less sunlight. And step by step, you hear the crackling of the leaves under your feet. If you're curious, you can touch the bark of the trees in your hands, see what it's like. Notice if there are any animals, birds, sounds of the trees swaying in the breeze. And as you continue to walk through this path, you find yourself coming to a clearing in the middle of the forest, a circular clearing where the light, the sun is breaking through. And standing in the edge, you slowly begin to walk towards the middle. As you notice someone approaching the center from the other end, the other side of the circular clearing. And as you begin to approach each other, you recognize them as your future self. This person perhaps appearing wiser, comfortable in their own skin. Their heart, their chest is open with compassion, whatever qualities you've invoked in your future self. How are they holding their body? What's the quality of their walk, their step? And as you meet near the middle of the clearing, just greet each other, however feels appropriate, making eye contact, perhaps sharing a hug. And as you meet each other, they signal you to find a seat on a log that's there, and similarly, they sit across opposite from you. And take a moment to just sit across from each other in silence, looking at each other in the eyes, feeling an energetic connection between your eyes, your forehead, their forehead, the center of your chest and heart area to theirs, and your lower belly to their lower belly. And just sense what's it like to be in the presence of this person. embodying these qualities. Notice their welcoming presence towards you. They're happy to greet you, to be with you. And notice what's it like for you to encounter them, to know this is my future. And if there's something weighing on your mind or heart, you can bring it up with them. Just describe the situation, your dilemma, your difficulty. And just listen to what they say. They might be offering specific guidance, or they might just be suggesting what principles or values are important for you to honor as you approach this situation. You can dialogue with them, ask them for clarifications, complications, whatever comes up as you hear their input. Again, just allow some silence every once in a while, perhaps, noticing what it's like to be together, to be with this being, this human being who embodies these qualities. And what wisdom comes through. And how that wisdom affects you. Perhaps they express or you feel more trust and confidence that things will work out somehow, some way. That you will be okay. After all, this is the person you're becoming. This is the person you will have become. So continue to dialogue with them, asking them about whatever is on your heart and mind. Listen to the quality and pace of their speech. Quality of their energy, their embodiment, their presence, the quality of their attention. towards you. Well, you can continue to dialogue with them for another moment or two, asking them any final questions you have. And soon you will begin to wrap it up, knowing that you can always come back here and invoke their wisdom, their presence, their being. Whenever you need to call on them, their assistance, their support, their guidance. So as you and they share your final words, you can return to the silence of just being together. As you both acknowledge each other and get back up. And in a moment, it'll be time to say goodbye for now. Sense into what feels right as the acknowledgement, as the connection, whether it's a hug or whatever it is. And as you acknowledge each other and say goodbye, and you'll each turn towards where you came from. Again, knowing you can always return here. Walking out of the clearing, you're back in the thickness of the woods and the forest, reflecting, metabolizing what you've heard, what you experienced. With each step, and you hear the crackling of the leaves, smell of the trees, the sound of the breeze. As you come out the forest and back into the meadow, into the open space of the meadow. Again, exploring it a little bit as you walk back towards where you began. Again, reflecting on your experience, what you've heard, what you experienced. What's it like to be that future self? And when you're ready, you can return to your current space. Allow your eyes to open including, in your experience, the sound of these words, any other sounds, and letting the light and the colors and the shapes come to you without leaving yourself, staying rooted, grounded in this presence that is here, this quality of awareness that is here. Opening the aperture to include more sensations, sounds, sight, colors, shapes. Looking at this mandala of souls here. And we can open it up if anybody wants to share your experience. We'd love to hear how it was for you. Any of it. I know we've gone through a lot. We've had some glitches on the execution, but I'm sure you all forgive us. One of your future self qualities is forgiveness, maybe. So please raise your hand, unmute yourself, whatever. I'll let Pauline get us back in order here.
Daniel, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to share anything?
I just love these sessions. I'm just grateful to you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so meaningful to know that it contributes and you find some benefit to it.
I have to say, I especially like the mistakes that occasionally occur. Then it helps it feels so much more human. You know, it's like we don't have to be perfect. Let it unfold, let it happen. You
Yeah.
know, and sometimes the things that don't go the way you intend actually turn out to be the most valuable. Certainly the most entertaining.
Indeed, indeed. And it is, you are talking about one of the qualities of spiritual intelligence, which is trust, and that you know, things don't work out exactly how we planned or wanted them, but they work out okay. We are all right. And that we've survived worse challenges, so we'll survive this.
Favorite definition of forgiveness: letting go of all hope for a better past. Right? You may have heard that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like it. I love it. Anybody else?
Well, when when the thing with the microphone happened, it was distracting at first. And when I realized you were not talking to the breakout rooms, it was like, oh, I can just filter his voice out. I've never been very good at filtering. And so it challenged me to not listen to something that wasn't intended for me to hear. But
Yeah.
I had something quite magical happen. And it has to do with your theme about the higher self. Probably we would all find maybe different words for our personal description of that.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't had those words or a felt sense of that was personal. And it came. I am a person who's, what shall I say? My primary identity has been the quiet, silent one who's listening. But in moments when I am meant to be present and heard, I can be out there. That's a huge gap with not very much being in between. So it means I spent a lot of time being kind of a hermit and listening to all kinds of things that nobody else hears. So I became like a a walking encyclopedia or a walking website, some people started telling me. And I thought I appreciated that because I knew it was an uncommon thing, but I had no way to frame that in a way that I could hold it. So what came today after, we did that reflection after we named our qualities, it was my responses to the words are really interesting because they were one of the ones I put in there. I was totally empty. I had no response to the word. And the other words were turning me on. So what I finally came to was this grappling that I have is the difference between, I'm going to say, individual self. I don't believe in an individual self. That's another story. And the collective self. My collective self that's been gathering information across my 78 years is my higher self. There's so much information in there. If somebody asks me a question, it's like, I don't know where it comes from. I have a response. And it totally bypasses all of this.
Yeah.
But to have confidence, that was the word that I couldn't identify with, self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because my confidence is in the individual self, is in I'm going to call it the community extended self, that people from extended family kind of cultures, have, in their experience. But I have that because I've lived in those kind of cultures. But how often do I actually currently spend time being able to be that person when I'm in I'll say a white Anglo community?
What's it like now to be in this community and sharing this? Do you feel confident? Do you feel self-conscious? Do you
Oh,
feel...
absolutely, because of who this community is.
Uh-huh. So this is the context creates safety, and then you could feel comfortable in your own skin, which is kind of a naturalness and confidence, you might call it.
And that was one of the qualities, was open-heartedness.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's hard to be open-hearted if there isn't someone who receives open-heartedness in whatever it is trying to express. I never really cared what people did with what I said, but I needed to be heard and to be chopped off mid-sentence when the energy is flowing. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. So I finally learned that I had to be the hermit, and my mouth would just open and speak when I felt the receptivity.
Yeah, so if you look at the gallery view now,
Mm-hmm.
and the people as they are hearing you, what do you feel? Are you feel being received or not? Or
Received in some way, probably in different ways because we're all different, but there's some kind of reception, yes.
Okay. And how's it affect you when you feel their receptivity in their own way?
It's a part of another thing that's challenging in today's world, but I'm comfortable with, and it's diversity. The curiosity and mystery of amazing unseen things that open when diversity is comfortable expressing.
Yeah. So do you see diversity here now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I look at each face, I could name things that seem to be present. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nancy Ann. Anybody else?
I'll just say I enjoyed all of it a lot. They're all things that are things I'm versed in, and it was lovely to be led through them.
So just so I make sure I catch, you said things you're versed through, but this was kind of just a repeat in another voice.
Well, it's nice to not be leading others through it.
I see. I see. You're used to being the leader.
I'm often the leader of it, and so it's nice to experience it and just to kind of experience your nuances or flavors and get a new experience of it because it's always new every time.
Thank you. I'm honored. Would you mind sharing a few words about what you lead people in? Maybe we can all learn something too.
Well, I coach public speaking and leadership presence for those in a spiritual path. And
Oh yeah, okay. Now I'm connecting things. Uh-huh.
so uh, so in terms of like the way that I teach presence and connection, which is from a kind of a deeper, kind of holistic and spiritual lens in terms of how we show up at, through our work and in our lives, then
Yeah,
this relates a lot to that.
yeah, it's our presence. You are the message, I think somebody wrote years ago. So our being is our message, who we are, yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Danielle? No? Leno? No? John? Can't hear you.
I'm all good, thanks. Appreciate everybody sharing.
Yeah, well, good to see you here. Okay, well, I guess I can mention that our next event in August is going to be about the quality of compassion, and which I think is a crucial quality. It's really the alchemical quality of our heart to turn our own suffering and that of others into warm-heartedness and connection. So there's so much suffering in our own lives and the world at large and the people around us. And I think compassion is really the antidote that nature has given us to be able to deal with that suffering. And it's that alchemical process that turns lead into gold. So that will be our theme, and we will practice both self-compassion and compassion for suffering that we witness around us and how to not get overwhelmed with that. So that is going to be our theme for the next event. And yeah, anything else anybody wants to share or ask or comment on, or Pauline, anything I'm forgetting?
No, I mean, just curious, besides the whole hot mic in the breakout rooms, did that method work for everyone with Yosi broadcasting his voice up until that point, at least?
Definitely.
Great. Still experimental, but we're getting the hang of it.
Thanks for showing us what's possible. It's amazing.
It's amazing, huh? What's possible is amazing. Yeah, so have we answered what is higher self? What is higher self? What's it like to be in touch with higher self? I mean, this is one method to approximate higher self, is this through the future self. But have I answered your question from the beginning?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. What?
Good to know that there's a part of us that's already got it solved. What solved and understood and, is leading us in our lives. It's very comforting.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't know all the details, it knows what qualities and principles to bring to the problem. Sometimes I don't know exactly what it is, but it just tells me, okay, make sure you're in integrity, or make sure you're, whatever. You bring open-heartedness to the difficulty. And then as I do that, that helps deal with it so that I never regret the principles that I used, even if I don't make quote unquote the right choice in hindsight, but at least I feel I did the best I could in integrity with my values. Okay, well, I wish you all the best in expressing and actualizing your higher self and all other selves, and let them all play and have fun and enjoy your afternoon and evening, wherever or time zone you're in.
Yosi.
Take care. Bye-bye.